Hello, Driving Intelligence community. This poor Honda has been sitting in my driveway waiting for me to finish my series. I've been a little under the weather for the last few weeks and I've not been able to get to it, but I'm going to try to get to it today. Today's project is fixing this bumper. You can see it was pushed in. As I mentioned, I think in one of the earlier videos, it had a rear end collision and the clips have all been pulled away. In order to get to this lower bumper trim, it looks like I'm going to have to take off this rear tail light. It gives me more access to where the clips are underneath here. And to do that, I've got to pull the liner back to get to that rear tail light. All right, so I've removed the push pins that held this in. There they are. And now I've got to get to these nuts that hold on that rear tail light. I need to remove the electrical. I'm going to do that first. Pull that off. I'll get those nuts off and then we'll get to the repair. Okay, so I did my research and it turns out I cannot remove this tail light without removing the bumper cover, which I have to repair anyway. Normally, on all the vehicles I've worked on before, this just pops right out, but there are clips underneath here that are holding this in. I may just repair this bumper cover and reset it in its clips without removing the tail light. So what I'm going to do is use a heat gun to soften the plastic so it is easier to reform. And I'm going to pry on it afterward underneath with a breaker bar. I've got a place to pry it out. I've put the rag on there so I don't do any damage to the bumper cover. But hopefully this will allow me just to pop it out. I've been heating it up from underneath the car, pointing the heat gun right at this area, and then I've been pushing. I've actually been able to push on it, and I've popped out a lot of that damage already. I'm just going to continue to do that slowly but surely.
It's a little difficult to see, but right up here is the deformation. I should have videoed this before I started repairing it. I'm going to point my heat gun back up in this area and then continue pushing it out. The reason why you want to heat it is because it will help the plastic reform and not crack.
I've just about got that entire dent out, and it doesn't look too bad. I can see a little bit of deformation in there. It was probably damaged for too long, and the memory is out of the plastic. It might reform itself, and actually I can see here where there's some additional damage and there's a crack underneath where the tailpipe is. What I'm going to start with is pulling the bumper off this side so I can check all the clips that hold the bumper on. I got to remove one Phillips head here, a couple more Phillips heads there, and then this little, looks like a push pin. Okay, so I'm almost done. I've just got one more bolt and reattached that rear tail light, which I thought I had to pull out. But it's not perfect. You can see just a slight indentation right there, but it's nothing like it was. Fortunately, where this all clips in, it was just pulled out by the impact. It did not break any of the clips, so I was able to take all these screws out on here and then gently reseat it into its position, pretty much not even tell that there was any damage. I'm going to clean up some of the paint with some 3M rubbing compound, and it should look dramatically better. To finish this job, I'm going to use some 3M rubbing compound. This is a liquid, works pretty good, especially on headlights, incidentally. And then we'll close out this video. This is a significant improvement over the original damage.
Ta-da!
I did put some of that 3M on there and cleaned up the paint a little bit. There's still some damage from the accident, but the bumper cover would have to be removed and there would have to be some plastic welding done to get it back to its original 100% condition. So when you look at the rest of the car, it is kind of beat up. So does it make sense to spend a lot of money to get a bumper recondition that's good enough as it is? And most people would not even be able to tell that there was an accident. Also, you know, I started taking off the tail light because I thought that's what was going to get me to the bumper. Turns out to get to the tail light, you got to take the bumper off. So I didn't do enough research initially based on my own assumptions, but I did go, when that tail light wasn't coming off easily, I decided not to force it. Did some research, found out how it all comes together, and it worked like a charm.
Hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me that thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Driving Intelligence.